to the Dissenters D&D campaign, but not quite tonight. As tonight we dive into our recap of sessions 1 through 14. Well,
been a long time coming.
I know, right? And I think in Harbingers we recapped roughly every 10 sessions or so. So
I think so, yeah.
This one we're a little late. Sorry. Tonight we will not be having Sierra with us as she is currently out of town. So,
being eaten by a purple worm, apparently, right?
Yeah, every time. It's
so.
that purple worm.
That's what it is.
See, she didn't get eaten per se this time. It's more of that she accidentally got caught on one of the teeth and now is being dragged across the countryside. So
okay. That makes sense.
Those darn purple worms.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Skingle Dingle asks, Ayo, why is Greg in a medieval torture dungeon?
That's hilarious.
I'm just out here, out here in the medieval torture dungeon as usual. We got all the implements. We got the storage for all of the insides, and we got the removal section shrouded in darkness. I thought it's a little too dangerous for YouTube, so just for fun though.
Solid. Sorry guys, I also just noticed that the chat is like so tiny on the screen, so I'm going to fix it real quick on this.
Come back to his chat.
I really hope this doesn't ruin it for the for the people who are watching on the other one.
Yeah, Twitch or whatever. Yeah, let me get my readers out. That's how I feel.
The other one. There we go.
Here, do you guys need to borrow my glasses? Here, you can borrow them temporarily.
Oh wow, it actually looks better. Oh my, oh no.
Wow.
Here we go, guys.
I can't see anything, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, no, I'm just out on a trip right now, so I'm in a new location. Sometimes we do these trips and we drive for long periods of time, and then we're out here now. And now I'm here, and there's nothing I can do. I could try walking back to my original location, but that'd be a long time. Hey, where'd the pioneers go from to where? It was like from central United States to like all the way to the coast. What was that? Yeah, it's like 50 days, something like that. I don't know.
The other way around?
No. I refuse.
Well, anyways, let's get through our announcements for tonight, y'all.
Yes.
Today I am joined by the cast of the Dissenters crew tonight. So we've got Megan Van Noy, who plays our beloved tiefling, Zilli. We've got myself, Emily Ross. I play as the party paladin, Rayla Sunstrider. We've got our wonderful Caitlin Nelson here, who plays none other than our resident wizard. I almost said Kayla because Caitlin and Kaya Arcane. We've also got Dane Selch here, who plays our party druid, Castil. And none other than Greg Langlois himself in the flesh, who plays our Kenku rogue, Paige. Whoa. So tonight is our Dissenters recap session. So this session, we're going to try and keep it to just an hour long. Hope, crossing our fingers, just an hour tonight. But essentially, we are going to recap all of the sessions tonight, sessions 1 through 14. Everyone has a section of episodes that they are going through and recapping, essentially. And then following that, we will have a Q&A session where you guys as the audience can ask questions to us, the players, and we'll answer as much as we can. And yeah, just let us know. And as for announcements, we are on a lot of social medias. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Discord. Join our Discord community. We play games together on there. So very fun. We actually just did a Rebo session last night with y'all. So yeah. Hopefully we'll get a Repo stream out soon. But oh, that reminds me actually. Due to like logistics reasons, we will not be, for example, like with the repo streams, we won't be streaming it with the audience, but we'll be ending those streams a little earlier. So if you, the audience, do want to join us and play on those streams, it would be after the stream is over. We'll stay on just a little bit longer to play with you guys. But just for safety concerns for you guys and also logistics stuff on our side, we just won't be streaming it with the audience. Hope that's all right with you guys. But we love you guys and we do love playing with you guys. That's why we want to make sure that the game stays a safe place for you guys, and that you guys do enjoy the time that you have with us. So other announcements, we do have a place, Patreon, that's the word, guys. I was like, it's a place where you can see things.
Discord,
yeah, right? Well, we are also on Patreon, and Patreon is where if you would like to come and support us, support the entertainment that you guys see here, you can go over there, and it's just $1 per month. Currently, right now, we don't have any exclusive, exclusive like content on there, but we will be posting on our Patreon the brand new cover that will be coming out for our campaign keepers, that should be dropping soon, within like the next week or two. It just depends on if I can get stuff done in time to release the new cover. But we do have our campaign keepers coming out with a brand new cover edition coming soon. But I gotta ask, do you guys like taking notes here in the group?
No.
Yeah. A little bit.
Wow, really selling it here tonight.
Yeah, a little
It's been
bit.
really great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not Nuri, okay?
Oh wow.
Yeah,
you
none of us
enjoyed
can be
taking
like Nuri.
Yeah.
Here's the
taking
question though,
notes.
Dane. Do the campaign keepers make you want to take notes more?
Nah, yeah.
Well,
No.
the campaign keepers are very good for taking notes. They're customized to you and how you want them, and they are just super awesome. You can go to our website, rosemarypgstudios.com, or you can go to Amazon and just search up campaign keepers and you can find them. We've got our second edition with the OG cover, which is this cover. It's got a nice spine on the back, just a cool kind of like black leather design. Very fun. And then we've also got our Nuri's Notes edition, if you guys were fans of the Harbingers D&D campaign that we did last year. The resident wizard of the group was Nuri, and she had her very own spellbook notebook. And we have that edition out. So we will be coming out with our new cover within the next 2 weeks, hopefully. So yeah. Watch for Patreon, because they'll be the first people to hear about it. So okay, cool. I think that's all the announcements, if I remember. Whoa, wait. Actually, no. We will be having Baldur's Gate 3 on Thursday next week. Hold on, let me double check that actually. It should be on the calendar, guys. It is, yes, Baldur's Gate 3 on the 15th next week, and then Dungeons and Dragons again, back to the Dissenters campaign on Friday next week. So be in tune for that. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into our recap. I believe kicking us off is going to be Caitlin. And yeah, just go ahead and give a recap of sessions 1 through 3.
Okay, awesome. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, disclaimer, there's a marching band outside my window, and my roommate plays violin next door, so it might be loud. But I'll go through this recap pretty quickly so that I can go back on mute. But yeah. So for session 1, oh yeah, and if I miss anything, like anybody's like character, like important character development, like let me know so that I can just feel free to interrupt me so that we can make sure we get it all in here.
I'll pull my notes out to compare. Here we go.
But yes. So session 1 started with us all meeting. We met up at this old lady merchant. She wanted us to play this game of chance in order to win this necklace of fireballs. So we keep trying this game as everybody kind of approaches this table, when suddenly we find out that she's cheating, and right before we can call her out, the ground just collapses beneath us, and we end up falling 30 feet. And it's not good because we are level 1 and we're very squishy. And as soon as we fall, I know Kaya, she got hurt really badly. I feel like there's one other person that needed healing, but it was not fun. And as soon as we fell, the old lady just started running, and she immediately got killed by a shadow creature that only some of us could see. So that was even more not fun. And what we end up doing is we put up this barrier of light, and we go the opposite direction of the shadows, because we'd rather not get killed immediately. And as we head in the opposite direction, we start hearing scuffling and a cat meowing. And as we approach, we find 2 kobolds hiding behind a crate, and the crate says dangerous, obviously misspelled, with a purple flower painted on it. And then as we approach, we see that they're trying to sneak away, and they have this bag on their back with a cat meowing inside. So these kobolds are trying to run, but they don't get away because Zilli is a boss, and she just totally obliviates one of the kobolds, absolutely terrifying the other one. The cat is released, and it runs up to Rayla, unfortunately, because Kaya really wanted to catch that
Unfortunately.
cat. Kaya was going after the cat first, and
She did have dibs.
Oof.
And so now Kaya has a reason to stay with the group because she needs to be around this cat. And then Castil and Paige, they run and catch the last cobalt, and he spills everything. And we find out that his name is Peppino, the best character in the game, actually. And then they open up the crate, and inside the crate is residue from a Moliense seed, which immediately freaks out Rayla, and she starts interrogating Peppino and asking where he got it from. Peppino, I'm trying to remember exactly what he says. Who's the guy that he said? I know he shows the seal. I'm trying to remember what the name was. I don't have it on here.
The name for who?
Peppino's boss, like the one that sent him.
Is it Lazar? No, that's...
That might have been the
works for-
druid.
Lazar.
Lazar.
Yeah, Lazar.
Starmill.
Lazar.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
double check, cross-reference my notes with my other notes.
Yeah, gotta
Cross-reference!
cross-reference the notes, guys, in the campaign keepers. Also, Knights at the Nerd Table, we're so glad you won that book in the free raffle. We're hoping to do some more of those in the future.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, I believe it is Lazar, because it just happens to be Castil's rival.
Yes.
His rival.
Nice. Of course.
So yeah, Rayla's interrogating him. And they find out that Peppino listens a lot more to Castil, unaware that he is a drow, and that is the reason. So, yeah, and Rayla's immediately really suspicious. She's like, he has something to do with this seed too. That is really sus. And then Castil and Peppino lead the way out the tunnel, and like I said, Rayla is very suspicious of him leading. But they do make it out, and as soon as we make it out, Peppino tries to escape, but we immediately catch him, and I think we end up releasing him later on. But yeah. Rayla and Kaya, we have a relationship with the cat. So Kaya, she, it was one of the last things that she saw her sister draw. And, Rayla, I don't think have you said, like, what your relationship with the cat is?
She said that the cat saved her life, and that's all anyone knows.
Yep.
Nobody's asked her any details, so... It saved her
Perfect
life,
for
guys.
a Q&A. And then we enter I think it's called the Kozin village?
Kuzin, I believe. That's how she pronounced
Kozin
it.
village. And immediately we're extorted for our money. And Kaya's not fazed by it because she's just used to giving everyone her money. And then we all stay at the inn together, all in the same room. And this is the scene where Rayla dropped a cat on Castil's face. I remember this.
Very funny
It's a
scene.
very memorable moment. And then after a night there, we start going through the village, and Zilli actually gives a gold coin to one of the little boys, because he's very poor. And he actually gets jumped by thugs.
She disconnected.
It was the thugs.
The thugs got her. She had to pay the toll.
She's back.
Hold on. Now she's back.
She has returned.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
But yeah, so he
Thugs.
gets jumped by thugs, and then Zilli and Rayla and Kaya, they all go and they save this boy. And yeah, and then there's a red tithling introduced, and that's the end of session 2. And then session 3, Rayla immediately confronts this tithling and accuses her of terrorism and for transferring a Moliensi seed. She starts getting really angry at this woman, and the woman just offers her a job instead, but Rayla immediately rejects, and Castil has to step in to defuse the situation, causing the tithling to just walk away. In which Paige follows her into an empty barn. Smells like animals. There's no animals in sight. He ends up getting caught by the woman and responds with sheep noises before quickly running away.
It is very funny.
Yes.
I'm gonna move my microphone.
And then we have a meeting together about basically what to do with the woman, because she has the same medallion as Peppino showed us of his boss. And what ends up happening is Kaya and Castil, they go to the woman, and she introduced herself as Brilith. And she says that the medallion is a family crest, and she promises to tell us more if we return her sheep. So we end up leaving, and we get charged for exit, causing a giant fight to happen, and we have to run out of the village to not get caught. We eventually find the sheep surrounded by death dogs, and yeah, Castil almost dies twice, but he's saved. Yeah, and then it goes into the fight in session 4.
Awesome! Nice, solid. Okay. Thank you so much for your recap. Okay. Awesome. My turn for recap, guys. In session 4, we finished that fight with the death dogs. It takes a good chunk of the session, but we finish it. There's a lot of stolen kills there. A lot of assists. But essentially we end up killing the death dogs, and we have 2 sheep left that are alive. So we hogtie them and start carrying them back to Ingwood. During the battle, we also did...
We weren't at Ingwood yet.
Or sorry, Kuzin. Kuzin, heading towards Kuzin. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah, important detail.
My brain just like auto-supplied that because we've been in Ingwood for so long at this point in the...
Yep.
But at this point in session 4, we're heading back to Kuzin Village. There's a lot of mishaps, hijinks, pushing a pig over the wall, aka Castil in hog form, as we get these sheep back to Brilith. During the time that we are gone, Zilli is actually back in town with the cat. And this is where she has a conversation with the cat, and realizes or learns that the cat's name is Seraphine. So very exciting information. Where did my note go on that? We learned more about Seraphine through Zilli, and I don't think she shared anything until like the very end of that session, and only to Caitlin or to Kaya. But but it was very interesting.
She didn't even reveal all of it. It was just a little bit.
No, because I think she also
Yeah.
talked to heard like a deep gravelly voice from like what was her patron, right? During that. So yes, there was some fun little hijinks there. When we returned to Brilith, we learned that she has a brother named Barut. Now, Barut at this point had been gone for a little bit, and we learn from her that Barut probably bought the seed because he had the crest of the Marsden family, the Marsden crest, that we had seen, or that we had heard had this person with the crest had purchased the seed. The Moliensis seed. There we go. And essentially we assumed, okay, well, Barut probably bought the seed and then ran off with the and then probably bought the seed and then because he did take all of Brilith's gold as well and then left. So that probably also happened. But Brilith does ask us to show Barut mercy if we run into him, because he is a kind soul. Which comes into play later on. But not in my sessions that I'm recapping. During this time, we are, let's see. Oh yes, okay. During this time, we do a little bit of shopping after talking to Brilith, before deciding to head back to the tavern, or the inn, essentially. Castil went in search of a doctor to cure the disease that he had captured, or that he had caught from the death dogs. So he went and got that healed from a doctor in town. This doctor was a druid gnome by the name of Matok Knockwise. Or wait. Was he the doctor? I think he might have been the guy that you met after.
He's a druid. We met him after. The doctor was an old lady
Yeah, that's what it was. That's
that
what
gave
it was, guys.
medicine.
Though I do think the druid was the one who cured me.
Yeah, the druid did end up... Yeah, that's why I'm getting them confused.
Correct.
Anyways, the druid did heal Castil of his disease, which was very nice. He was from a different circle, but he was traveling through town, kind of on his way to Arkham. Not Arkham Asylum, a different village called Arkham. I didn't even think about that in the moment. At least I don't remember thinking about that in the moment. But in my notes, looking back, I'm like, it says Arkham on here. Is he like going to an asylum? No, just another place because it has a Moliense seed. Alrighty. We talk with Matok Notwise for a little while, and then the rest of the group goes into the inn to kind of like cool off, finish any shopping they need to do, and just kind of chill for the evening. Whereas Castil goes outside of the town using an invisibility spell given to him by Matok, or will cast it upon him. And he goes out and he discovers his connection to nature, at least a little bit more deeply. We get some of our favorite moments from that are actually clips. So if you look at our shorts playlist, you can go watch some of those. But Castil communes with nature and essentially levels up within his ranking, which is very exciting. He was welcomed into nature and officially became a part of the circle of energy. So that was pretty exciting. And right at the very end of that session, Zilli points out to Rayla that there is a bounty on her head, on Zilli's head, and quite possibly the rest of the party. So that's what we decide that we've got to figure out at the beginning of the following session, where we book it at a Kuzan village. Away from the mercenary group that we had just learned at the beginning of session 5 is the Circle's Cut. Alright, so we run away. This is where some trauma dumping happens, so bear with me for a minute. We have our first watch outside of town in this session, in which during the first watch was Kaya and Rayla, and Kaya reveals how long she has been hunting for her sister, and I mean hunting in the way she's searching for her, you know. Let's see. Paige wakes up from a nightmare and he's screaming and throws a blade around a bit. And it takes a little bit, but we end up calming him down. It takes a little bit, right, Greg? Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of trauma, just a little bit of
trauma.
screaming, you know.
Yeah. Nightmares. We like traumas. Everyone's traumatized in this episode. Everyone has trauma. Almost too much trauma. Eventually, we do make it to Ingwood, the city of Ingwood. And this is where we actually end up meeting... Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. On the way to Ingwood, Rayla is giving sentences for Paige. So she's just saying a bunch of stuff out loud so Paige can get more sentences to say. And then fast forward, we're in Ingwood. And Paige and Kaya have a conversation where Paige reveals that he's going to follow Kaya's lead in this moment. And Kaya's kind of like, why? Why are you following my lead? But it's a cool relationship builder between them. And we end up going and visiting Paige's family. And we meet a beautiful halfling who is very pregnant named Jalora. Oh, also Rayla is wearing a hood. It took a lot of convincing from Zilli to make her wear a hood, so that way people don't judge her for seeing that she's a Sunstrider. And then, guys, a lot of stuff happened, so I'm going to kind of bullet point this before I run out of my time. Alright, so while we're here with Jalora, everyone's eating food except Rayla. She ain't eating anything. Then Paige's brother Flynos comes in talking about the monk in the yellow-robed monks and how he got a prophecy from them. The prophecy was, through the twisting halls of shadowed dreams, where reality bends and nothing redeems, a truth well hidden left unknown lies buried deep beneath the stone. To end the dark that twists the night, a root must be ripped out all at once with might. No step, no pause, no gentle sway, only force can clear the way. When the grip of fear is torn and undone, the endless night will meet the sun. Pretty cool. And then
I'd also like to add that the yellow monks are also what Seraphine told Zilli. She said that
Yes.
her owner had the followers of the yellow monks.
yeah, that her master was in charge of the yellow-robed monks.
They also might be considered terrorists in this land, but
Yeah.
it's fine. It's a whole thing.
Kinda. I would say more like insurgents,
Yeah.
maybe.
A radical group.
A radical group? Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the yellow-robed monks. And at the very end of that episode, it actually went late on that episode because a seed was planted in Ingwood right at that night, and the darkness started falling over right as Ingwood was also being invaded by monsters from Steelforge, and it was crazy. Rayla had a panic attack and had a nat 1 on her sanity check and had to do whatever anyone said for the next 5 minutes, but that was resolved at the beginning of the next session. Because in the next session, all heck breaks loose, guys. Because Jalora starts throwing stuff at Paige because she realizes, oh my gosh, you brought a Sunstrider into my house, and just chucking food at him. And Paige is shouting, Rayla, not traitor, which is so sweet. But Rayla was having kind of a panic attack at that moment. And so we decide eventually, once we kind of recover from this, everyone's like, all right, let's go get this Moliancy seed, get rid of it, save the town. So we're running through the streets. People are running in all directions because the, crazy stuff is happening from the effects of the Moliancy seed being planted, and people are running away from those effects, while at the same time people are running away in the opposite direction because they're being invaded on the other end. So people are getting trampled left and right. Zilli's horns fall, they catch fire or fall off or something like that. Her hair is on fire and her horns fall off. That's what it is. And it's crazy. Everyone's freaking out, guys. It's freaking out. And people are getting shifted by the seed, into all these different monstrosity type things, You get me. All right. Then they find out that they meet up with the cat, Seraphine, and they discover that the Moliancy seed is below the surface, so kind of in the sewers. So they jump right into the sewers, and the sewers have contorted and been distorted into a labyrinth that is very akin to the environment of Steelforge. So they're going through this labyrinth, getting out, and holy crap, I'm probably over my time. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm almost done. There was so much trauma in these last ones. So then we go into this section of there. I'm skipping over so much, guys. And everyone, this episode was called Trauma Fog. I highly suggest you watch it. But essentially, everyone starts hearing voices as we're stuck in this labyrinth trying to meet up with each other, right? So Rayla she was the only one that wasn't super traumatized, but that's because she was confused. So she was very confused, hearing voices from her brother and mysterious women talking about if only one can live, then I will die, and all this stuff. And she's like, what's going on? One of the lines from that night was, it's like there's a telenovela going on in my head. Just a soap opera. We've got some backstory coming out with Castil, and he's witnessing or rehearing almost one of his best friends dying, which was crazy on that night. And he's also hearing all this stuff from his backstory, some people that we don't know that I want to ask questions about. Dane. We also hear stuff coming for Zilli. First, it's the wolves that get her in her head, and she's terrified of wolves. And then she starts hearing different people that she's not sure of who they are at first. And they're talking about how special Zilli is, and that Zilli has something they want, but she doesn't know what it is. And it's like, what is going on? And then Kaya keeps hearing her sister's voice and her sister whimpering and in pain, and hears her parents dying and like trauma after the other, and just getting battered like a battering ram. But that's not even the worst of it. Then we have Paige. Y'all, just a moment of silence for Paige in this episode for a second. It was rough for Paige with his trauma, guys. He had so many people, like, just dying and blood and just all this trauma of, like, horrid people in his backstory that we don't even know. I also want questions and answers from this. Talking to him, and eventually Paige is sadly, he's fine, but he's traumatized. It's very sad. But then we end up dropping down a metal slide, and we end up in the chamber with the Molienzi seed, and everyone's been traumatized.
All the trauma.
And that goes into session 7.
All right. Session 7. We actually start off in the room with the Molienzi seed. And we find that not only has it bloomed and everything around it is being contorted and people are getting cursed, but Barut, the one who planted the Molienzi seed, has become a werewolf. And as the rest of us are trying to get to the roots and trying to pull it out, Paige is actually trying to convince Barut to fight alongside us instead of against us. And it works. With Barut's help, we are able to finish off the Molienzi seed. But as we do, the place starts to crumble since we are technically in the sewage system, and this is not how it's supposed to look. So, we grab the Molienzi seed, Rayla shoves it into her bag, and we book it. We are trying to drag the unconscious noble that is down there, and also Barut's. Like, we're trying to get everyone out, and we do. And as we are walking back through the sewage system, the noble that is now with us is not too happy that he has to walk with these filthy outsiders in the sewage system. This isn't his thing. Zilli tries to convince Rayla that, oh, maybe it's not so smart for her to have the Molienzi seed in her bag, since the Sunstriders already have a bad name tied to the Molienzi seed. Now, this was in an attempt for Zilli to get a hold of the Molienzi seed, because when she was talking with the cat, yes, her patron came and talked to her and said, bring me the Molienzi seed. So she's trying to do this in the nicest way possible, and just says, maybe you shouldn't be the one carrying the Molienzi seed, and immediately Castil comes in and is like, I'll carry it. If I'm remembering that correctly. But eventually, we get out of the sewers, we make it back to the top, to the town. So we get back into town, and unbeknownst to those of us walking in the front, but Paige and Castil in the back are talking about how they can get Barut out of here and reunited with his sister. And they formulate a whole plan, and in order to cover all of it up, with one mighty sneeze, Castil puts a fog cloud over all of them. And Barut makes a run for it. And Paige is like, oh, I'll go catch him, and runs after him, meaning to go and help him. Meanwhile, Castil is trying to create a distraction from all of that by revealing that he is a drow and dramatically coming out of the fog and proclaiming he was the one who planted the Molienzi seed and how he offered Rayla to help him. and says that the offer still stands. Of course, he's acting. Rayla's not. This triggers a whole lot for the poor girl, and she gets mad. She full-on draws her sword and charges at Castil, proclaiming him a traitor as she divine smites him and actually does quite a bit of damage.
Yeah.
And he finally, with one more proclamation, if you accept my offer, you know where to find me, before transforming into a spider and skittering away. Well, the rest of us, sadly for Barut, he gets one shot by an assassin, and Paige is standing there just like, holy crap, what just happened? And another, I think it was another noble, came over with the assassin, is like, hey, great job in slowing him down, and Paige is like, yeah. And then the rest of us get arrested. And we are put in front of the Duke of Ingwood, Duke Armir. And he has a proposition more like blackmail for us. Since we are all technically traitors, he will only proclaim us the heroes of the town who stopped the Moliensi siege if we go and get his family heirloom sword, as basically a way of him stating, I am the true ruler of this place. And we all know this is blackmail, because if we don't do this, then he will have us all killed in the middle of town. The Duke of England.
Yeah, it's King of England. I was thinking it sounded like the King of England from Hamilton. You'll be back.
Continuing on. So we all reluctantly agree, because this is the only way that we're going to get out of this alive. And we find out that this errand that he has for us is a 5-man job. And Castil has skittered away. So now we have to go find him, which we do. We find him, tell him about everything, and then we head back to town and get some rest before we go to be teleported away to where we need to go. And Kaya knows this, but there are wizards who once they when they use spells of a certain level, they die. For mysterious reasons, they die. So after the portal was created, of course, Kaya is questioning why this wizard is doing this of her own free will and choice. The portal is open, we all go through, and Kaya grabs the other wizard and pulls her through. We later learn that her name is Clara. And Clara is also questioning why she got pulled through the portal with us. Because this is basically a death wish. Every single group that has gone before us have never returned.
Honestly, poor Clara. Poor
Clara. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get to the collector's lair, where we are told the sword is being held. And once we enter, the first thing we see is the sword on a pedestal. And Paige walks right up to it, grabs it, and immediately disappears. And because the cat was with him, Seraphine also disappeared. Nice timing, Greg.
Yeah.
The rest of us, the floor opens out beneath us, and we fall into the first puzzle room, where we find these words. The flow is cursed, but the heart can cleanse. Only those who balance life and death may restore the flow. Find the 3 symbols of balance to heal the curse. And we all look around, and the first thing we notice is acid water covering a good chunk of the floor, and flowers everywhere. Castil and Rayla landed on a platform next to a fountain, and at the top of the fountain there are shards of a crystal. Castil immediately starts piecing those together. Rayla makes her way to the other platform where Kaya, Clara, and Zilli have fallen, and they're searching around for any clues. And it takes a while with trying to figure out what we are supposed to do. And actually, if you watched Greg's stream of when he was watching these sessions, he found out this puzzle way quicker than we did.
It's a little
If only I was
embarrassing.
there.
he wasn't there.
That's sad.
But after a lot of trial and the water like rising and like really quickly in the room, we finally figure out that we need a flower, the crystal that Castil had pieced together, and a skull that we found on another part of this room. And we had to put them in a certain order around a basin. And once we did, the puzzle was complete and we were able to make it to the next doorway, where we are then put into, it was like a field with ruins. Let's see. And we, one of the first things we see are these words. I beckon you with open arms, a price so sweet without alarms. Yet those who seek with hasty hands shall find themselves in death's cold lands. Upon further investigation, we see little trinkets scattered around the field. Some of those that are most noticeable, Rayla finds her brother's notebook. Castil finds a pendant that belonged to a comrade of his. Kaya finds her sister's favorite pencil, and Zilli finds a diadem that she feels belonged to her mother. Now Zilli has no memory of her past life, so she is very curious about this, and despite the warnings from Kaya of not touching anything and Kaya desperately running over to try and stop her, Zilli picks it up. And you can hear her softly whisper or whimper for her mother. But after picking it up, we roll for initiative as a black pudding monster has erupted from the middle of the field. And so the fight begins. And we're not doing too good. We're trying to figure out this puzzle as this monster is coming at us. And who was it? Castil had the idea of getting everyone's trinkets to the other side. But we don't even make it that far, as another monster has entered the field, and we all see a djinn appear out of nowhere, slice Clara up, wave to Kaya, and disappear. So now we have that answer.
Not our finest moment.
not our finest moment.
No.
As things are getting very bad for us, a secret door opens up and we see a bandaged hand beckoning us to come in. And so we all charge for it. We all charge for the door, we pass through, and it closes. And that is where session 9 ended.
Okay. I will not be able to go that much detail as I want, guys. I do have to dip out here in a sec, but I will give you the spark notes of what I have. Okay. So we begin our session being saved by a wonderful young kobold named Zadi. Zadi is full of energy, full of life, full of just wanting to get to know people. And he loves sharing secrets. He tells us about how he is actually a member of the yellow-cloaked monks. As well as how he has a couple more prophecies for us to read. If you want to see those, go watch the session. We fast forward through a nice little breather, being able to recuperate, heal up a little bit, and we go on into our next trials. And eventually we are able to meet the Collector herself. The Collector views us as intruders, as we did not knock on her door, we just barged on in and started touching stuff. Through an attempt of negotiation, things fall through and we get into a fight. Zodi is able to help us in collecting a few of the items. We have Paige and the cat Seraphine just in little orbs, as well as the sword off to the side saying, "Return to pedestal." Through a heroic display of giving his all, he sacrifices himself using the Indomitable Strike to defeat the Collector. Not stun the Collector, more like it, incapacitate. And give us the opportunity to save Paige, get the cat, and get the sword, and get out of the building. And that is where we end our session 10. Session 11, we start off once again recuperating. We have both Rayla and Castil as frozen popsicles, and just Paige, the Kenku, who has not been with us and is completely out of the loop. Zilli, the ever so quiet, and also Kaya, who's so quiet. No answers were given to Paige about what had happened.
Poor Paige.
Camp was set up right outside the Collector's lair, which unfortunately led to the Collector coming out herself for vengeance. Upon her finding the group, we are saved by Seraphine the cat, who just shines very brightly and magically teleports everybody. Cat's magical.
You say that like it was unexpected.
I don't know. Cat's crazy. No one trusts. Castil doesn't trust that cat. Once we're in safety, we're able to take a long rest. Both Castil and Rayla are able to recuperate, and a few more secrets get spilled as it is discovered that Paige is a werewolf, and Zilli is an undead, which she herself did not know, and came to a huge shock. As we come to the end of session 11, Zilli is then kidnapped by a white wolf. Or was it a white wolf, or was it?
It's more like a frost spirit in the shape of a wolf, like
Yeah.
a
Frost
yeah, it's
wolf.
like a
That's what I was
wolf,
looking for.
ice spectral. Yeah,
Yeah, more like that.
Session 12 begins with us doing a huge chase scene, trying to get Zilli back. The team is helping each other out, and every step we take, the wolf's able to take too, or we're able to do vice versa, trying to find ways to catch up to the wolf. Eventually, we are able to save her, and we decide that it is too dangerous to stay here without any protection, and we should go visit an acquaintance of Castil's that lives nearby by the name of Abaddon, or Vesper Abaddon, who was very lonely and could use a lot of friends.
Golden Retriever energy.
Yes. When we get there, the whole team is able to find out a bit about his story, that he is an old friend of the Queen of Steelglen, and because of a disagreement that they had, he was kind of put under house arrest in this tiny little circle of an area. However, he has found some ways around it. He can provide us with a token that will keep us safe from the Frost Wolves. Additionally, if we are so kind, we can go and help find a relic from a local folklore that may be able to break the seal.
The violin.
Yes. And so, after we have our heartwarming chats, reuniting and getting to know him a little bit more, we are able to depart and make it back to Arkukari with the sounds of battle on the horizon. And that is where we get to Greg.
awesome.
I need to dip.
All right, we'll
Love
miss
you
you,
all.
Dane. We love you.
Bye, Dane.
Bye.
See ya. Okay. Oh, combat is right indeed. We have not actually physically seen, up to this point, a combat between Steelforge and Arkukari, but as we breach the border of these two countries, we find an army of undead confronting an army of humans, but not before Kaya is swooped up by a purple worm. And the purple worm, as it's grabbing Kaya, also thwacks Castil, knocking him down, winding him. And what follows is a combat session. We basically... I'll do a short play-by-play for you, because I think it's pretty interesting. Rayla goes down to help Kaya, seeing that Castil's fine. He's just a little bit winded. And she finds Kaya, is able to bring her back to the surface, and finds Seraphine, who was on Kaya's shoulders. And so the two of them are safe. During this time, Paige, as well as Zilli, are surveying the area, and they see the forces of the undead are split into two main areas, two groups. Each group has at least one catapult, and one group has one, the other group has two. You have many, many different enemies, but Paige sees a weak point on the right side, facing into Steelforge. And he recognizes some of the soldiers, particularly Frederick Glassglow and Simlin Quickhand, his adoptive father, and Frederick being... he's like a general. Doesn't have a very high view of Paige, but they know each other. They've met before. But Paige knows that this is not a time for waiting and talking. And with a cast of Longstrider from Castil, Paige is able to carry information to Frederick about the enemy's positioning, not before letting the party know where the weakest point is to attack. So Frederick sends some of his forces, and we send our forces, and we're able to take down two of their skeleton minotaurs, take control of the catapult, fire off a shot, and eventually regroup with Frederick and his people, and are able to just barely take out the worm without any casualties on our party side, but with many casualties on the human side, leaving just Frederick, Simlin, and a couple of stragglers on the human side. But we kept our Kukari safe, and that was what was important. And then we get to talk to Frederick and Simlin. Frederick is a rough man, inside and out. He's a very blunt man too, and will speak his mind, and he does. He knows Rayla. He knows Rayla's family and the drama that happened. And
The drama?
Just yeah, we'll say drama. Just this close to considering her a traitor, but definitely considers at least her family traitors, and her by extension, but he knows her enough. That's when we reveal the information that not only is she a traitor, but she is traveling with a drow, a warlock, as well as Paige, who
A thief.
he considers to be a thief in vocation, and so he's a little bit wary of us.
Can I add in? He
reveal-
might be a little
Absolutely.
racist and classist.
A little bit racist
And
classist.
experiencist.
And experiences. Yes, he is. He's very blunt about his opinions, and he's blunt about his opinions. Let's put it that way. But we're able to talk with him, and Simlin sort of calms him down just a little bit, but not until after we show him our token from Duke Arnmere from Arkukari, specifically Ingwood. But we show him the token, and he goes, there's nothing I can do. This is unfortunate. And then Simlin says, they did help us. You should probably pay them, right? He's like, grumble, and hands us each a platinum. And lets us pass, most importantly. That brings us to our camping day. Oh, so many camping. This session, we did a lot. We had a lot of character moments where we just kind of talked. Rayla, now being able to find some food, seeks out food. Paige offers to help. They trap some animals. and Rayla and Zilli are able to make a stew together. During this time, as we're setting up camp, Kaya casts the Find Familiar spell and summons a cat. Castil communes with nature, and Paige practices lockpicking on his advanced lockpicks. During this time, Castil decides to peer a little bit into what Seraphine exactly is, and he is met with a great magical force, a barrier put in her mind, perhaps. But he sees a figure with a mirror-like mask, and this has an impact on Castil, to say the least, and he begins seeing things that aren't there. After images and visages of changes around, from flaming horses and glowing string to enemies attacking us. It's not great. But during this time, Rayla, after finishing food and getting ready, settling down, looks through her stuff, finding a note from her brother. And she's able to find out it's a secret message pointing to a location on the map. She takes the note, and not being able to forget the information that has been put on it, she tosses it into the fire, separating herself from the last note of her brother.
He's a traitor.
He is a traitor. He's a big traitor.
Mm-hmm.
The whole traitor bit, yeah, a little bit. It's kind of entirely his fault. So, let's see. Kaya and Zilli have a watch together. During this watch, they talk about the cat, and they decide to name the cat Amara, after Kaya's sister. Amara Steve Arcane, canonically. We also have during this watch, Kaya and Zilli both hear a noise. It sounds almost like these deep hoof prints, and they go to find a horse named Jack. Kaya had lost this horse during a storm a couple weeks prior, and Jack came back to her. Now, Rayla and Castil have a watch, and they have this really awesome moment together. They talk to each other, Castil explaining that he's sort of seeing things. Rayla sees this and is like, I'll help you, don't worry, and they're talking. They actually bond over previous experiences. Both of them, for example, were arranged to be married at some point. Two people. And they were relating over how weird of an experience that is to not have to choose who you love. Castil opens up about his past and his a little bit of some of the experience he's gone through, and talks about the cat. And Rayla, sort of settling in, begins looking around to see if she can find anything, only to have a strike thrown above her head. As this whisk of air is there, she ducks and reaches out a foot to trip Castil, who seemingly swung at her. Castil, freaking out a little bit, is asking if she sees anyone there. You see someone? She says no. And they both sit there, Castil declaring, I think I'm going to go to bed now. And so he does. Now, Rayla takes a little bit of pity on him and decides to continue to help him in spite of him betraying her a second time, and describes what she sees in hopes to help Castil get some rest. And we come to the day. We begin traveling once again. Rayla again talking about the things she sees as we're walking, sort of disguising it a little bit, giving Paige some more words, playing a game with Zilli, whatever it may be. She's describing the surroundings so that Castil doesn't have to worry. And we get to the next stop, and we ask Kaya about the horse that we have now. She explains.
I love how nobody asked about it for the longest time. They're just like, okay, yeah. I guess.
There's just a horse here now. And we meet him. Rayla goes and pats him on the shoulders like, it's good to have you here, Jack. And he responds. Rayla finds out she can cast more spells and gets a little bit excited about it and a little bit weirded out. It's a whole moment. Then Castil decides to talk to some animals too, specifically Seraphine, walking up to her, then confronting her about some of those things that he saw, declaring that he will not let her harm the party. If that's her intention, he will stop her. To which she replies, he did not cast any spell to communicate especially with her. She just does it, and understands him, and can talk to him in his mind, which sets him off a little bit more. Seraphine declares, listen, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. And Castil believes her. Feeling her magical power, knowing that, yeah, she probably could just kill me. We eventually make it back to the town. And we are seen by Duke Arnmere, who's excited to see us, but more excited to receive his sword. And thus proving that he is the rightful Duke of the land. He's happy to reveal our heroism and our wonderful contributions to the town. And so he prepares us. He says, go wash yourselves and give us your name. And so we do, and we come back with the name, the Curse Breakers. And there we have Kaya the Seeking, we have Paige the Wise, the Handy, we have Castil the Redemptive, we have Rayla the, I'd say lost. I'd say lost's a good adjective for her. And we have Zilli the Curious. And I feel like I'm missing someone. Who am I missing? Am I missing someone?
No,
Hold on.
it's just Sierra.
No, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, that's who we have.
Titles to all of us.
I mean, it's fitting. We have a title for our party. Might as well have subtitles, you know? So there you go. And that was where we left off. Opening the doors to the town and perhaps to a new life. We'll see what happens in next session.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you to everyone who recapped. Guys, we're going to open the floor to you guys as an audience. So put in the chat any questions that you guys would like to know the answer to from us. We'll answer them to the best of our abilities. I know a couple of you have already put in some questions, so we'll start with those ones. If we do run out of questions, then we might ask some of our own to each other. But if you have any questions, just throw them into the chat by all means, and we'll get to them. We're gonna hopefully be ending, because our recaps went a little longer. We'll be ending by 8. So we're gonna do a cutoff then. But yeah, let's kick it off. There was a question, the first question in the chat, which was from Thygon. It says, question for Greg for the Q&A. What can you tell us about Paige's night terror? I'm assuming this is the one during the recap that I gave, like session
the camp. Yeah,
2,
that one.
I think. Or no, not 2, the 5 or something. Or 4.
Yeah. I remember that pretty well. Let's see. I won't give you exact details, but Paige is a werewolf, and this is known. Paige is a werewolf, and it is very likely that as a werewolf, he has done some pretty nasty stuff. And during these night terrors, it was a particularly stressful day. He hadn't fought things for years. We're talking probably like, was it 4 years? Something like that. Basically, he hasn't fought anything since... So he was brought in, he was found by Frederick Glassglow and Simlin Quickhand. And when he was found on the border between Arkukari and Steelforge, and he helped them fight off a horde of undead, similar to how he helped fight off a horde of undead when they first recently as well. The last time they met, the first and last time they talked to each other. The only time he's ever seen Frederick is in this context. But it is like these sort of memories of those times, those things that he has committed, and the sounds of people. It's kind of messed up, but that's what it is. That was what I was thinking. He was like, it's been so long since he fought. He got really close to a lot of things he doesn't like seeing. There's a lot of trauma there with fighting, and especially living creatures. But he just sometimes remembers a little bit. Let's put it that way.
Long story short, trauma.
Trauma.
Right?
Yes, a lot of trauma. Yes, absolutely.
I love that. We've got another question. I'm going to assume this one's for Caitlin. But it says, why does Kaya seem to not want to connect with the party? Out of everyone, she seems like the last puzzle piece, unless she's just an Akko Taco. with the taco emoji.
So yes to both of those. So she grew up kind of alone, kind of isolated from everyone else. She was very much like, she was very big into studying and making her parents proud of her. She never really was around kids her age. She never really was around anyone. She just stayed in her like little study room, and she had like a tutor, but that's all she had her whole life. And so she had no friends except for her parents, who were always busy because she had a high ranking, high standing. So a lot of the time she would just spend in books, just reading all the time. So that was like her life, which is why I get to do so many history checks, which is really nice. But so she was very, very lonely. And then her parents had her sister. I believe she was, I think she's, I think she's like 6 years younger. She's like pretty young. So like for that 6-year period, she was just kind of all alone with nobody. And then they had her sister, and it was like the world kind of opened up to her. It was like this chance to kind of finally connect with someone. And like before, like I said, she did not like animals, she did not care for plants, none of that. But her sister was very, very nature centered, so loved all animals, loved all plants, like drew them all the time in her little journal. And so over time she started appreciating those things. But then when her sister went missing, it was kind of like everything's gone. So she doesn't really know how to communicate with people. The most socialization she's done is gone to like big balls or big events where she kind of just has to keep her mouth shut anyways. So she's kind of like out of her comfort zone, doesn't know how to connect, and the only person she has connected with in her whole life is gone. So that's why she's searching for her, because it's hard for her to believe that she can find a relationship like that in other places, besides, that sisterly bond. So yeah, it's really hard, and I feel like if she had to choose her sister or the people in the party, she'd still like immediately go for her sister, because it's just had that much of an impact on her. But as they continue to get closer, and as people like protect her and help her, she's kind of grown this bond. So she's slowly growing this bond for sure. It's just hard for her to accept it or see it. But yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I love it. Additionally, Dane has said that he will answer questions in Discord later about Castil. If anybody has questions specifically about Castil, if you just want to message into our Discord, linked in our channel, then you can go there and ask questions to Castil. But yeah, this is just the live one, so. Okay, well, I think we ran out of questions in the chat so far, but do any of you guys have questions for any of the party members here? Things you want to ask?
I do.
Greg, you're sitting
I
on
have a
one.
question. I am curious how long Zilli and Rayla have been traveling together for, and like when, like, what was the first, like, what exactly prompted them to travel together? Because we've known that they've been traveling for a while, but we don't know why exactly.
That's a good question. I believe it's no, it's not 2 years. It was like
I think it's
isn't it-
been a few months, actually.
Yeah, a few months. I have it in my notes here. Hold on. You if you want to say stuff, real quick.
I think it was a few months because before Zilli and Rayla actually met, Zilli had been in the town of Vale, where Rayla is
Rayla.
from, for about a year. And Zilli doesn't really have any friends or family. So when she saw Rayla, she's just like, "Oh, this looks like a nice person," and just kind of followed her around. And that's basically what started their friendship. And then Rayla went on a journey, if I'm remembering correctly, to clear her family name.
Well, that's kind of the journey that she's already on. Like, because Rayla, when you met Rayla, you saw how everyone treated her, because this was well after, you know, her family had been disgraced in the town, and a plague was, like, just starting in Vale. And then, essentially, you were just kind of, to Rayla's perspective, this person just kept, like, stalking her, essentially. And so she confronted Zilli and was like, "Why you stalking me?" and then they just kind of, like, you know, just stuck together since then. And then they left, and Rayla's has told her that she wants to clear her family name, you know, make them help people see that the Sunstriders are, you know, not tainted by one person's decision. And so they've been traveling for months at this point. By the time that they came in contact with the rest of the party, it had been months. They had shared quite a few meals and rainy days together. So
A lot of tree bark and mushrooms.
not the mushrooms.
Not the mushrooms.
But yeah.
when Rayla was leaving town, Zilli's like, "Well, I got no one else. I guess I'll go with her." And yeah, they've been traveling together since.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Zilli hasn't figured out by now that she doesn't like mushrooms.
No, Zilli knows.
Yeah.
Zilli knows.
So
She
when
just put
she
it in
added
the soup anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why when she brought him back, she's just like, "I'm sorry, this is all I could find."
Yeah, that's why she's like, "I'm sorry," and Rayla's like,
So sad.
"No, I get it." Yeah, no, it's so fun. Megan and I, like, before the campaign even started, went through and we're like, okay, so let's role play through some experiences that we had together, so we could actually have, like, stories and stuff. So yeah, so there's a lot of stories from the time Rayla and Zilli spent together pre-campaign start, but it's very fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Way cool.
Got some fun stuff.
We have a question from Skingle Dingle. Question for Greg. Who are you torturing right now? I don't know if you answered the last time I asked.
No one you need to worry about.
Oh!
No. No one you need to worry about.
Moving on.
And moving on.
Well, I did have a question for Castil, but then he left.
Yeah,
believe it.
unfortunately.
Yeah, you can ask it. He'll just have to answer on Discord.
Well, he'll answer in Discord later, yeah. If you want to message it in the Discord chat. Yeah, there are so many questions for everyone.
So many questions.
Yeah, I guess if nobody else has any other questions, we can kind of like stop it here unless or I guess how does everyone feel about being let's open this up to everyone in the party. How do you guys feel now that we are an official, like, recognized party? Like, that's where the end of the last session ended, is we officially, like, got a title, the Curse Breakers. We became a party officially and are now traveling together kind of in a very, like, we kind of were traveling with each other long enough that we got the government involved, you know?
Yep.
I'm actually kind of glad, because at the beginning it's like, none of us get along. How are we going to keep this group together?
Yep. It was a whole time. Took 14 sessions to make that official.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. 14 sessions to kind of friendship, to acquaintanceship.
Yep. We're at a point where we're almost not just gonna fall apart. I think it's interesting because even though we are a party and we have like dynamics between each other, I mean, we have like Paige, for example, is keeping like a very big secret from the rest of the party. I feel like it's not so much a question of if the party will find out that Paige is a werewolf, but rather a question of when will they find out Paige is a werewolf and how will it happen? You know, I have no idea. I've thought about different ways, but it all depends.
Does Paige does Paige think that way? Is he like, oh, they're gonna find out eventually, or is he like, I'm never gonna let them find out?
I think for him, because okay, he told this to Castil, so this is not new lore, but to reiterate, he has only told Castil. That is the only person he has ever told about this. So like, no one else knows except Castil in the world, and he's like, cause he's been trying to keep it a secret forever, like as far back as he could remember. He's trying to keep this a secret, right? But I don't know. I think he's trying to keep it a secret from the party. He might have to talk about it, but he's a very concealed person. He does not tell people everything. He is very secretive. I made sure when I made him to make sure he was very good at lying. And when I roleplay Paige lying, I roleplay exactly the same as if he was telling the truth. And I do that on purpose. I do that intentionally.
Yeah.
It makes it a little confusing, perhaps, sometimes. But just, if you want to know who Paige is, just look for his inconsistencies and point those out.
It's very
like,
fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Also,
but yeah.
Just to let you know, the full moon is less than a week away in the campaign. Less than a week. So
It's
we'll
fine.
be learning some things coming up.
I've got my shackles. I'll be fine.
No.
I've got my shackles and chains and hunting trap. I'll be fine.
Well, Kaya won't judge you because all she knows is what you read in a book about werewolves. So she'd be like, "Whoa, can you do this? Can you do this? Like, is this how that actually works? Is that real?"
All found on page 394.
Exactly.
What's fun, I'm excited for the 26th in-game because that's Rayla's birthday.
Mm,
Aww.
It's coming up, guys.
it's
Not
canon.
that anyone knows.
Would she remember it on her birthday, or is
Oh,
she
yeah.
not keeping track?
Yeah. Her birthday was so close to like the worst day of her life that she remembers.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, we're going to open it up to one final question from the audience, y'all. And if there isn't another question from the audience, then we'll go ahead and end the stream. But one more question from you guys, and I know there's a delay, so we'll give it a second. But if you guys have a question for any one of the crew here, again, if you guys have questions for Castil or for the Dungeon Master, go ahead and join our Discord server and put those in the general chat. That way we can go and like answer those questions at any time. Steve saying Paige was just munching on some fresh slayed chickens and Kaya's sitting there trying to ask him questions about his werewolf disposition. Just
So how does that make you feel?
and he's like, well, but
So
Wait.
how do you feel when you see a stick? Do you want to like fetch it? Like, does it give you like a new instinct? I'm really curious about that. Please tell me. Like,
well,
do
you
you have to like pee to mark your territory? Like, is that actually a thing? Like, do you do that?
Man, I'm excited for that. Well,
oh goodness. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for this recap session of the Dissenters D&D campaign, sessions 1 through 14. Hopefully this has helped you kind of like catch up to where we're at in the campaign. The beginning of next session is going to be a hoot and a holler, aka a party. So it'll be very fun. We've officially become the Curse Breakers. So make sure to join us next Friday at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the Dissenters D&D campaign, session 15. We are very excited for that. And join me and Sierra on the Thursday right before that, so this upcoming Thursday, for Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye! Love you guys!